Hi everyone, welcome back to our fourth episode of Circular Economy. I'm your host, Manon Beauchamp-Tardieu, CEO and co-founder at Little Green Panda, a Melbourne startup that's on the mission to eliminate single-use plastics with drinking straws made from plants. On today's show, we will be hearing from two entrepreneurs, Daniel Walsh and Shannon Gilleland, who will share how their innovative products are helping the environment. Our first guest is Daniel Walsh, the founder of Reforest. Daniel is on a mission to empower consumers and their retailers to make every transaction good for the planet. By doing so, it not only allows you to grow your own forest every time you make a transaction, but it also helps stop climate change. Hi, Daniel. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hi, Manon. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I've been so excited to hear about your story and learn more about Reforest.
Thank you. It's really nice to have the chance to talk about it.
Well, look, how about we just go straight into it and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Reforest.
Absolutely. So I'm Daniel Walsh. I'm the founder of Reforest. And this all comes down to the frustration and the powerlessness that I think we all feel a little bit about those purchases we make that have carbon emissions we can't do anything about. So the groceries we buy, the fuel we put in our car. Reforest is a new mobile app that gives everyone a really tangible and a meaningful way to solve that problem. It lets you plant trees in local reforestation projects, and you can see those trees growing. You can visit them anytime you like through the app, and it shows how those trees are removing carbon emissions from all the daily purchases that you make. And it also makes that action visible to your retailers and lets you ask them to come and join you so that together you're making those purchases good for the planet instead of damaging.
I love this so much. I think it's so good because, as you said, obviously being able to use your purchase and doing something good for the planet by planting trees is incredible. Can you tell us, to those who who wouldn't know, why planting trees is so important to help stop climate change?
Yeah, absolutely. So to solve climate change, we need to do two things. The first one is to remove all the excess CO2 that's up there at the moment. And trees are the cheapest, best technology we have for doing that. The other benefit of planting trees, of course, is that you're restoring natural ecosystems. If they're planted in really high quality biodiverse projects, we're protecting biodiversity and stopping species from going extinct by creating sanctuaries and protecting those threatened species. The other thing that we need to do is to stop producing emissions, of course. And one of the best ways of doing that is to put a cost on emissions being produced by our retailers. So what Reforest is letting you do is plant trees, invite your retailer to join you every time you buy from them. That's creating a bit of a cost for the retailer every time there are emissions. And you're offering your loyalty, so there's an incentive for them to wear that cost. But that cost creates an incentive for them to invest in decarbonising faster. And trees are a great way to measure and track and use it at that cost in a really productive way that's having all these extra benefits as well. And also trees, when they grow, they generate carbon offsets, and your retailer needs those in order to reach net zero. So it's kind of a really nice circular win-win for everyone.
That's it. It is. It's definitely a win-win. And how does the consumer encourage the retailer to jump on board with this?
So when you use the app, you can put in any purchase you like. It can be a coffee, it can be fuel, it can be a flight, whatever you like. The app will tell you how much CO2, and you identify who the retailer you bought from is. Then through the app, you can do your own post to social channels and tag that retailer and say, hey, I've planted trees for this purchase. Will you come and join me? So there's a bit of consumer advocacy going on, but also we take that activity and we aggregate it up and we show those retailers all the customers of theirs that have been doing this, and we show how it's adding up on a public leaderboard. So it's kind of a bit of positive, encouraging pressure. And we'll run some kind of interesting campaigns, do some sort of fun stuff to, again, in a friendly way to say, guys, your customers really want this, and I know you do too. So come on, let's do it together.
That is so true. I think consumers have so much power in getting retailers to actually do the right thing. And what you were saying about, positive pressure to jump on board with Reforest and help plant trees to offset their carbon emissions is just, I think it's the way forward, which is really exciting. And so we sort of touched on about the carbon offsetting. How is that different with Reforest?
Yeah, really good question, Manon. And it's a big part of the reason why we're doing this, because carbon offsetting in the 10, 15 years it's been around just hasn't engaged people because it just doesn't feel meaningful to most people. 80% of us are concerned about climate change, but almost no one clicks that button. You know, even when it's right in front of you when you're going to book a flight, no one really clicks the button. And there's a bunch of reasons why. First of all, I mean, what is a carbon offset? Most of us don't really understand it. It's a pretty abstract concept, right? You also don't know where it's coming from and what's happened when or where, and you can't see it. There's no real world impact when you do that. So it's very hard to feel like it's a tangible thing. Mm-hmm. It also puts all the responsibility for those emissions onto you as the consumer, as the customer. Mm-hmm. But this is a shared responsibility. You know, you've produced the emissions together, so we should be acting together. And if your retailer is not doing anything, there's no reciprocal action by your retailer, it kind of feels a bit unfair, right? Like, I'm doing this, but you guys aren't. You created them, so we should be doing something supportive and together here. And I think also offsetting by definition is mitigating a bit of damage here with a solution over the other side. It's not getting us ahead or improving anything. Whereas most people would say that the state of the planet today, you know, we want to improve it, right? We want to make things better. So we need to be going beyond offsetting to restoring. And that's kind of what Reforest is all about. It makes it really tangible with real trees planted in the ground. It's local, with local projects for your local emissions that you can kind of connect with and feel like you're really part of. And it's engaging your retailers and getting them involved. So it feels collaborative, it feels tangible, it's meaningful, it's socially visible. You can see everyone else doing it and how all of your activity together is adding up. That's
incredible. I love that so much because, as you said, climate change, obviously, you're putting a lot of pressure on consumers like you and I, but it's actually the big businesses that are polluting the most. And they should, you know, we shouldn't feel so much pressure on ourselves, but actually put it towards those businesses. And so with the app, when people make a purchase and they're planting a tree, can they choose where in the world they want to plant these trees? Like, how does this all work in terms of the landscape or locations?
So one of the principles we're trying to stick to is local emissions in local projects. So we're aiming to have lots of local projects around the country where people can, in Australia that is, where people can be planting trees for the local emissions that they create. In the future, we'd like to go global and have that available to everyone. But that connection with relevance of where you live and where you travel to, or just what's important to you in your local environment, is a really important thing. And you see all of that in your virtual forest in the app as well. So you get a one-for-one representation of what you've done in the real world in the app.
Awesome. So is there any would this be planted in Australia specifically, or would that be...
yes.
When you guys are launching, will that be happening in Australia?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're launching with an amazing project down in Victoria. It's creating a conservation sanctuary for a critically threatened species of wallaby. There's only like 6 of them left in the wild. So this is a species we're trying to bring back from the edge of extinction with these sanctuaries. So great first project, and it's sort of a showcase of what we want to be having in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much. That's so awesome to hear. And then my last question to you would be, nowadays, there's so many of these tree planting projects happening. Like, for example, if you're buying a T-shirt, they plant a tree on your behalf. And sometimes it's really hard to know, if, as you were saying, like tangible, as if that's actually really happening. How do you, at Reforest, what is the quality assurances you've put in place to really ensure that it's being properly audited?
Yeah, that's such an important point, Manon. We don't run projects ourselves. We're a platform, and so we only select the highest quality projects that are done to the best standards out there. Sometimes you can see things that, you know, like for every $1 purchase, we'll plant 10 trees. You can't plant and care for 10 trees for 100 years for that kind of price. So we work with projects that are local. They're registered with the federal government agency that oversees carbon sequestration projects. So they're audited every couple of years to check that the trees are there, that the carbon that's supposed to be removed is being removed. And we transfer the payments to those projects, some up front to get them underway, and some over time to make sure that the trees are still there and they're still doing the right thing, basically. So, and plus through the app, you can see the trees in the ground, so you know they're there.
That is so cool. So when is this app going to be launching? How can people download it and get on board?
We have a beta version that's on the app stores at the moment, but we're launching our big release public version in the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the end of March. So keep an eye on the website. The link to the app stores is there, and in the next few weeks it'll be up and ready to go. You'll be able to reforest any purchase you like. The website's reforest.com.au. And we'd love people to get involved.
Amazing. Well, I will definitely be one of the first to download your app and start using it, because I think what you're doing is incredible. It's an amazing project, and I hope and I wish and hope for great success to come with Reforest.
Thanks very much, Manon. Really appreciate the support.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye. After the break, we'll be speaking with Shannon Gilleland, a serial entrepreneur now working on her fourth business, where she is the CEO of the company Form I Baby and founder of the world's first self-sterilizing baby bottle, Pronto. Pronto reduces the amount of bottles you need to purchase from 8 down to just 1 bottle and completely removes the need for a separate plastic sterilizer. Stay tuned.
Think about the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating, or even the furniture in your home. There is a story and history associated with every product you've ever bought. Unfortunately, sometimes the workers who make your products are subjected to terrible working conditions, are not treated fairly, or the manufacturing process is harmful to the environment. There are many forms of modern slavery and damaging production methods, but it's up to us, industry leaders and the consumers themselves, to take a stand so that we can contribute to a healthier planet and to changing the lives of everyone involved across the global supply chains for the better. Ethical Trade Alliance enables buyers to make informed choices on all of the products they purchase.
Welcome back. Our next guest is Shannon Gilleland, who along with her business Pronto are now multi-award winners and blazing the way towards creating a safer bottle feeding experience for babies and giving freedom back to parents worldwide. Shannon is on the mission to help reduce 8.6 million baby bottles from hitting landfill in Australia over the next 4 years. Hi Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, I must say congratulations on all the success so far with Pronto and your raising with Virtual. It's incredible the journey you've been on so far. Do you mind introducing yourself and sharing a bit more about your journey?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Shannon Gilleland. I'm the founder of a product called Pronto Bottle, and it's actually the world's first self-sterilising bottle. And this is something that I came up with about 4 years ago when I had my daughter. Actually, it's 4.5 years now. That's gone quickly. And so I've sort of gone from that beginning of that journey all the way through, sort of fast forwarding to where I am now. Been through a number of acceleration programs, done the typical startup thing of funding and VCs, and now, the recent thing, which was the equity crowdfunding campaign. Yeah.
Very cool. And I'm sure we could go on about the whole equity raising and all that. So maybe if we have more time, we can touch a point on that. But how did Pronto come about? Like, what was the problem you saw, and why did you take action on fixing it?
That's a great question. So before I had my daughter, I had started to become a lot more eco-friendly in my life. So we'd sort of started being a lot more conscious of not just doing the typical recycling things, which most people should be doing nowadays, but taking it sort of a step further and being really conscious of our purchasing decisions. So reducing plastic purchases into our life, increasing purchase of like secondhand goods, that kind of thing. And what I found was as soon as we had our daughter, there was this massive influx of products into our life. And that included, plastic. There was so much plastic toys, plastic bottles, clothing, nappies. So that's one of the big things too, right?
That's it.
I did the typical journey like most parents, went down the bottle feeding route and thought it was a bit of a ridiculous process that we're having to buy, again, all of these plastic items. We're constantly returning them over, as in purchasing more because you'd leave one behind or you'd lose one along the way, as tends to happen. And I basically went around solving a pain point. And the pain point for me was different from most parents. I actually went and researched and interviewed and surveyed, 100 other parents and just said, how are you traveling with your baby? And the biggest thing from there was, parents actually saying the amount of time that they were spending doing the sterilisation process with the bottles and having to carry all this weight in pre-filled bottles. And when I realised I could solve that problem, I actually managed to solve the plastic waste problem at the same time, because if a parent could travel with one bottle, that bottle was glass, it was reusable through multiple babies, I was helping to reduce the plastics then that would actually come through and come back into the environment. So I solved two things at once.
Oh my God, genius. That's so good. I love that, because as you were saying, like, I think with children, plastic is sort of like the go-to material that we use, which is really scary, because obviously children grow so quickly, and then the products you use them just for a limited amount of time, but it stays in landfill for so long. So that's really, really awesome what you're doing. And I guess another sort of segue to this is obviously with plastic baby bottles, obviously we do know nowadays that microplastics is found, in the food that we eat and drink. And I read an article actually on The Guardian last year saying that babies are actually consuming millions of microplastics from actually the baby bottles themselves, because of the way that it gets sterilized, the heat. There's something to do with that. How does the Pronto bottle actually compare?
So it is 100%, you're correct. It's something that hasn't really been talked about. We've talked a lot about, toxins in plastic. So BPA is bisulfonyl alcohol, those things being toxic. But now, yes, microplastics, parents having to heat their bottles in the sterilisation or the typical sterilisation process, which is steam sterilisers or in the microwave being, heated. And that process actually slowly breaks down the plastics. But what we did with Pronto, for two factors, one to reduce microplastics and two for safety, is we're actually using a glass bottle. So the glass bottle, one, it doesn't allow UVC light to leach outside of the bottle, so it's safe for the user to handle. And also it's reducing that microplastic, because you can heat that bottle and it's not going to get affected. It's not going to leach out those microplastics into the actual water or into the milk.
Wow, right. And so so is it the lid itself that sort of heats the glass? Like, how does it all work?
So it's, for now, the initial, our sort of MVP of Pronto is purely sterilisation. There's no heating component to it. So parents will have to take it out and put in their little bottle warmers like they normally would. So it's just the external glass component getting heated. The lid and that doesn't get heated at all. The lid is the plastic component. Unfortunately, we can't make it out of metals at the moment, because it's not possible to do that with the technology we have. So the best part, though, is the bottle is definitely glass. That's
it. That's a huge win, definitely.
Yes. And the fact you get to use it for multiple babies as well. So parents can use it for baby one or baby two, and then we can actually have it sent back to us. We can refurbish the bottle and then send it out to another family again. So that one bottle can get used for multiple babies and families.
That's genius. I actually didn't think about it that way. That's great. You're really repurposing it.
Definitely.
Do you know roughly how many sort of baby bottles go into landfill every year in Australia, roughly?
I couldn't tell you per year, but I can tell you for a cycle of 4 years. So we estimated that 8.6 million baby bottles will go into landfill in the next 4 years. And that's a huge number.
That is
huge. And that's based off of, National Geographic statistics of recyclability.
Oh my gosh.
And also, the amount of bottles that parents tend to buy. It's quite crazy.
It is quite, oh my gosh, so you're solving the need for parents who, obviously it's a tedious job of sterilizing bottles and every day, but also doing a wonderful thing to help the environment at the same time. Perfect.
Absolutely.
So where do you guys plan on going? Like, what's the next step for Pronto?
Well, right now we're improving the design for Pronto. So we've just gone through a design and test phase, and we also did some usability testing within that period. So now we're improving the design, going through our latest prototyping. We'll actually then put that into lab testing, and then we're actually out again testing it with parents. And the next stages from that point is the next fundraising round. And that'll get us to tooling and manufacturing, and hopefully into parents' hands, which I look forward to. I look forward to the day when I'm walking along and I see a parent with a Pronto in their hands.
That's the most rewarding feeling in the whole world, isn't it?
You're not kidding.
That's so awesome. So how long have you been, so you've been working on this project for like the past 4 years since your daughter was born? And
yeah, that's right.
So, wow, so everything's really coming to fruition soon.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's the exciting part now where we're actually getting large baby bottle manufacturers approach us to have the conversation about possibly licensing our product or going into OEM deals. So that's the exciting part for me.
Oh my gosh, that's huge, Shannon.
Yeah, it's very exciting times at the moment. Exciting and crazy.
I can imagine. Well, I think it is the future. I think coming up with more innovative solutions to how we use, products and making it a better version is the way to go.
And yeah, 100%. And I think I look forward to getting to the point where we're liberating parents from this typical experience.
That's it, making it easy for mums and dads. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely mums and dads. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm so excited. I can't wait for Pronto to come into the market and sing it around town and in parks with parents. It's so exciting. You're on an amazing journey. And as I said, congratulations again on all the success so far. And I can't wait to see what happens next for you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you having me on. This was awesome.
Thanks for coming on the show, Shannon.
You're most welcome.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed hearing the stories from these inspirational founders who are fighting the battle to ensure a more sustainable future for everyone. If you like this episode, please like and share with a friend to spread the word on the good that is happening around the world. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.
Think about the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating, or even the furniture in your home. There is a story and history associated with every product you've ever bought. Unfortunately, sometimes the workers who make your products are subjected to terrible working conditions, are not treated fairly, or the manufacturing process is harmful to the environment. There are many forms of modern slavery and damaging production methods, but it's up to us, industry leaders and the consumers themselves, to take a stand so that we can contribute to a healthier planet and to changing the lives of everyone involved across the global supply chains for the better. Ethical Trade Alliance enables buyers to make informed choices on all of the products they purchase.